Hello everyone, I welcome you to this platform, Literature Hub 247, where the art and science of literature are discussed. This video is about a non-African prose titled Path of Lucas. Path of Lucas is written by Susanne Bellefeuille. This is just the plot summary of the novel. Now let's first consider the character, that is the major characters we have in the novel. But before we do that, the settings of this novel is Canada and Florida, one of the states in the United States of America. Now let's now look at some of the major characters in the novel. We have Lucas Clarkson. Lucas Clarkson is the protagonist and the narrator. We also have Isabel. Isabel is Lucas' wife. John is Lucas' father. Elizabeth, Lucas' mother. James. James is John's eldest son. Mary is John's daughter. Deborah is James' wife. Richard Clarkson, that is Lucas' eldest son. Johnny Clarkson, Lucas' second son. Steve Clarkson, Lucas' third son. Thomas Clarkson, that is Lucas' last child. Stephen Lewis, Lucas' childhood friend. Lucy Clarkson, Ferguson, that is when she gets married. She's now referred to as Lucy Ferguson, that is Lucas' daughter. Mark is Lucy's husband. France is Isabel's sister. Mr. Thomas is a property owner and Isabel's boss. Mr. Douglas is John's lawyer. Dr. Coleman is Isabel's obstetrician doctor. We'll see how some other doctors there right in the novel. Now, this novel opens with a media res. What do you mean by media res? A media res is a literary device, that is a technique, whereby the narrative starts abruptly in the middle, and the author or the narrator makes use of flashbacks and other techniques to link us back to the previous event. Now, the novel opens with a media res, where Lucy bids her co-workers goodbye as she leaves her office in Kingston, Ontario, and heads for Alexandria, her hometown. She visits Lucas, her father, one weekend a month. Unfortunately, she is involved in an accident that puts her in a coma. That is, she always visits her father once in a month, that is one weekend in a month. The police are able to get some information about her from her license plate. The police afterwards contact Mark, Lucy's husband, who rushes down to the general hospital. He later calls Lucas, that is Mark, later calls Lucas, his father-in-law, to inform him of the unfortunate incident. The man didn't pick up the call, but later called back. He also joins Mark in the hospital. Lucas introduces himself as Lucy's father at the hospital, and a nurse directs him to the ICU. Lucas sees Lucy lying on the bed, and he hugs Mark to comfort him. Lucas sits very close to Lucy's bed and begs her to wake up for him and the sake of her children. He says he believes she's listening to him and that he will talk to her throughout the night. He decides to narrate the story of his life as if it happens to somebody else. Lucas is trying to is narrating his own life history here, but he presents it as if he's narrating somebody else's life history. So he makes use of third person narrative techniques here while narrating his own story. He's supposed to make use of first-person narrative techniques, but he presents it as if he's narrating somebody else's life history. Now, he now believes that Lucy will be listening to him, and by that, she could come around. She's in coma. So he believes that through the narrative, Lucy can come around. He says he believes she's listening to him and that he will talk to her throughout the night. He decides to narrate the story of his life as if it happens to somebody else. He starts the narrative as a 17-year-old boy riding a two-baker car who loves to be sent on errands. His father is John, a respected farmer in the community, and his mother is Elizabeth, a housewife. Lucas is sent on an errand by his father one day and sees two young ladies. He offers to give them a ride. The girls are Frances and Isabel Bourgeois, children of a property owner in the community. Lucas has an interest in Isabel, and Isabel also seems interested in Lucas, but she is shy. He drops them in front of their house and runs to purchase his father's items. The thought of Isabel occupies Lucas' mind, and his parents are suspicious of the changes in him. He later tells them about Isabel, and Elizabeth says his father felt the same way when he met her. 3 weeks later, Lucas doesn't see Isabel and is worried. James gives him some ideas to use to see Isabel, but he doesn't buy the idea of going to their house and asking for her. Elizabeth informs Lucas of the arrival of Steve, Lucas' childhood friend in town. Steve left the community to train as a pilot. Lucas visits Steve and they exchange pleasantries. In the course of this, Lucas changes the topic and tells Steve about Isabel. Steve encourages him about Isabel and advises him to go out on Saturday morning as suggested by James. He's looking for all possible means of seeing Isabel. He's going to Steve's house one day to see his parents. He accidentally sees Isabel and Frank, her sister. He offers them a ride home. Lucas tries to open a conversation with Isabel, but discovers that she understands little English. It's Frank that serves as an interpreter for the lovers. Lucas asks her to go on a date with him. They agree to go to Mama Jean's diner for supper by 7 p.m. When he gets back home, he informs his parents that he saw Isabel and they are going out on Saturday. He asks his mom to teach him French because of Isabel. Lucas' mind is on the outing, and Isabel is also anxious about the day. At Mama Jane's diner, they sit on the seat for 2 people beside the window. Lucas places an order for the 2 of them, and the waitress serves them. The 2 lovers enjoy themselves and leave. Lucas hesitates, asking her for another date for fear of turning it down. When they get to Isabel's house, Lucas summons courage and asks her out. Isabel agrees to go out with him again. They pick the same time the following week. Lucas' mind is on the outing throughout the week. He rushes his chore that day and dashes out to pick up Isabel, and they head straight to the theater. After the merriment at the theater where they watch a film, they go to Mama Jean's diner. Lucas asks Isabel if she will be his girlfriend, and she agrees. Lucas gently kisses her, and the lovers enjoy the moment. Before Lucas drops Isabel at home, he asks her if she will go out with him at 5 o'clock next Saturday, and she agrees. Lucas expresses his love for Isabel to his parents when he gets home. He tells them that the relationship is going on smoothly. Several months later, Lucas introduces Isabel to his parents, but he wonders why Isabel cannot do the same. She always gives one excuse or another to Lucas. Lucas picks Isabel up one day and observes that she's agitated somehow. Isabel only responds that there's no problem, that it's just a bad day. He then drives out to Lochgarry Park, where he goes to swim with family and friends. He turns towards Isabel, who is shaking, and asks her what the problem is. He begs her to tell him if there's any problem with her family, that she doesn't want to introduce him to them. After much pressure, Isabel finally opens up. She says she doesn't have a loving family like Lucas, and they are poor. She has to work hard to buy food for her brothers and sisters. Lucas responds that there's nothing wrong with being poor, and he doesn't care about that. Isabel gives another excuse that her parents might have gone out when Lucas insists on seeing them. This matter nearly tears apart the relationship that day as they depart in disagreement. Isabel just runs out of the car without saying goodbye to Lucas when the latter drops her at home. Lucas is disturbed and thinks he has lost Isabel, which he cannot bear. Up to the end of summer, Lucas doesn't see Isabel and is greatly worried. It continues like that until Lucas' father sends him to Mr. Thomas, a property owner, where he sees Isabel. Isabel works with Mr. Thomas. The latter once told him that she works for Mr. Thomas. Lucas then suggests picking her up after work so that they can discuss. Lucas picks Isabel up from her house and drives her to the house on their agreement. Lucas apologizes about their last discourse that nearly ended the relationship and says he doesn't need to know her past or family. Lucas is trying to avoid anything that can bring a problem, that can cause problem between the two of them. That's why he's saying that here. Isabel opens up that she doesn't want to talk because of a terrible childhood experience she had. Despite that, Lucas doesn't want her to tell him again. Isabel insists that she will tell him. She says she was grossly abused as a child by her parents. She then begs Lucas not to hate his family. He promised not to, but has negative feelings toward them for maltreating her. Isabel says her father did abuse her when drunk, while her mother beat her up till last spring. That is up till last spring. Her mother was still beating her. Lucas assures her that he will not disrespect her family and will always be there for her. The relationship continues to work stronger and they are happy. Isabel will soon turn 18 and Lucas plans to buy an engagement ring for her. He goes to Mr. Ford's store to get a beautiful ring. He plans to take Isabel to Mama Jean's diner and then to Lochgarry Park where he will propose to her. On the day, Lucas picks her up from their house to Mama Jean's diner. Isabel is surprised when suddenly the people wish her a happy birthday and the waitress brings a beautiful cake. Lucas also wishes her happy birthday and feels the ring in his pocket. He decides to propose there immediately instead of Lochgarry Park. He goes down on his knees and asks her, "Will you marry me?" quote and unquote. Isabel thinks she's dreaming and responds that she will marry Lucas. He puts the ring on her finger and they kiss passionately. Lucas takes Isabel to their house one day when his parents are not at home. He prepares a delicious meal for her to the surprise of Isabel. After the entertainment, Lucas suggests they stroll to the woods where they play hide and seek game. After this, they settle down in one of the rooms in the house where they drink the money together. Lucas then invites her to his room where he shows her the designs and pictures made by his grandfather. The lovers now sit side by side on the bed where they feel an emotional current. It's the first time they are going deeper in their love relationship. They accidentally have an affair together. The two of them sleep off until 3 a.m. when Lucas wakes up. He wakes Isabel up and he says he has to take her home immediately. He takes her home and she sneaks into the house unnoticed by her parents. On the second day, Lucas tells James that he had a fantastic evening with Isabel the previous day. Lucas picks Isabel up from their house in the evening. Lucas gathers the ingredients Isabel will need for the food preparation as she moves to the kitchen. After some months, Isabel starts feeling sick, especially in the morning. She asks it from everyone, including Lucas. On her way to Mr. and Mrs. Smith one day, Julia sees her and offers her a ride. That is Mr. Thomas' house. The latter asks her if she is sick as she looks pale. She initially doesn't want to talk, but later tells her that she thinks she is pregnant. In response to a question from Julia, she says Julia is the first person she tells about it. Julia takes her to Dr. Babe for a medical checkup. The test is carried out on her and the result is expected to be out on Tuesday. She promises Julia that she will tell Lucas after the result is out. When Isabel and Lucas meet at the weekend, the pregnancy issue occupies Isabel's mind and Lucas notices it. He then asks if she's alright because she looks weak. Julia brings Mr. Smith back home and she takes Isabel to the doctor for the result. The doctor says Isabel is pregnant and her next appointment is in 4 weeks. The doctor advises her on the type of food to eat to combat the nursing. 2 weeks later, Isabel is looking for the appropriate time to tell Lucas of the pregnancy as it enters the 3rd month. Lucas picks up Isabel one day from Mr. Smith's house for a social event. He is interested in the program because of Maurice Richard, his favorite, who will be at the event. On their way home after the program, Lucas recounts his experience with Maurice Richard to Isabel. The latter is happy to hear it, but her mind is on the pregnancy. She then tells him that they should go somewhere because she has something to tell him. Lucas suggests they go to the land his father bought from Mr. Smith. When they get there, Isabel finds it difficult to utter any statement. She just bows her head and cries. After much pressure from Lucas, she tells him that she is pregnant. Lucas is confused, and it takes some moments before he understands what she said. In response to a question from Lucas, she says that Julia took her to her doctor and it's confirmed she is pregnant. Lucas apologizes for putting her in such a condition and promises to give her every support at his disposal. He says he loves her and will never put her to shame. He suggests that they get married in November. The plan goes as Lucas wishes. The wedding took place on November 12, 1958. Isabel looks very beautiful in her gorgeous wedding dress. France is also present to dress up the bride. After the engagement, the guests moved to Lucas' parents. After the engagement, the guests moved to Lucas' parents' house for entertainment. Steve, Lucas' friend, presents an interesting toast and speech about the couple. The couple afterward traveled to Toronto for their honeymoon. After the honeymoon, they settled down with Lucas' parents and they are pleased with the arrangement. France is already pregnant and is conspicuous. Isabel doesn't tell her that she is pregnant. It's Joe, Mary's husband, after being drunk. No, Joe is a drunkard. After being drunk, who asked Isabel one day when she's going to have her own baby. Lucas looks at Joe somehow and warns him against taking excessive alcohol. He then announces that they are having a baby that spring. The people are happy and congratulate them. Isabel is happy with the way Lucas presents it to the people. She also tells her parents about the pregnancy before New Year's Day. Isabel is gathering her baby materials one day when she is informed that France is in labor. She then rushes to the farm to inform Lucas about it. In the course of doing so, she stumbles on a rock and falls to the ground. Isabel is told to stand up on her feet. It's Lassie, Lucas' dog, who sees her and alerts Lucas. When Lucas gets there, Isabel says she's fine and that she just wants to tell him that France is having a baby. Lucas carries her home and lays her on the bed. He tells her to rest for him to freshen up and then go to her parents. 30 minutes later, she discovers that her amniotic fluid is broken when she stands up to go to the washroom. Before she knows it, she's in labor. She immediately calls Lucas and informs him. He calms her down while he gets his car ready. He then helps her into the car and Elizabeth uses them the best as they leave for the hospital. Lucas is anxious for good news from the labor room. Isabel has been there for over 24 hours, but the doctor allayed his fears that first labor often has the longest period. Isabel eventually gives birth to a baby boy, who Lucas suggests to be named after his hero, Maurice Richard. They conclude to name him Richard Lucas Class. France also gave birth to a baby boy at home because they couldn't take her to the hospital as her contractions were too close. Isabel gave birth to a second son a year later on the 3rd of June 1960. The boy is named Johnny William Clarkson after Lucas' father. She delivered the third son the following year on the 1st of September 1961. The boy is named Steve James Clarkson after Lucas' childhood friend Steve and his brother James. The couple are advised not to give birth again since Isabel has experienced 3 very hard deliveries. They agree with the doctor on this. They decide to move out for the convenience of the family. That is, they decide to move out of the Lucas' parents' house. They get an apartment that suits them close to Alexandria. Lucas still works with his father, but it has been his dream to become a Class A mechanic. But his father wishes he become a farmer like him. Lucas now works more as a mechanic than a farmer. He works with Claude Giros, a Class A mechanic. Isabel also works in the sewing factory. In the spring of 1962, Isabel had another pregnancy. The two of them are afraid because of the warnings of the doctor. She narrowly pulled through the delivery on the 19th of January 1963. She's in the hospital for 2 weeks because she has a hemorrhage. The baby girl is named Lucy Isabel Clarkson. One summer day, Lucas chats with Jim, who has experience in cars and can build sports cars from scratch. Jim advises him to come to Uxbridge to attend school and get his certificate. He promises to pay his tuition and there is a house close to the garage for rent. Lucas appreciates him and tells him to give him some time to think it over. This occupies his thoughts for the next 2 weeks. He discusses the matter with Isabel and his father, and after some questions and answers, Isabel gives him the go-ahead. Lucas and his family are set to leave for Uxbridge. 3 vehicles are fully loaded and leave with James, Paul, Elizabeth, and John. They stop briefly at Jim's house to collect the keys and the direction to the country house. Jim tells Lucas to take a week off to settle himself down. The following morning, they all leave Uxbridge. They will never find it difficult to part with Lucas his family. That is Luther that accompanying them from Alexandria. The father, Elizabeth, and the other people. Lucas starts working with Jim the following week, while the class commences in 3 weeks. Lucas is 26 years in their second year at Oxbridge. He's doing well with his job, while Isabel stays at home to take care of the children. One summer morning, Isabel feels some changes in her body. She later concludes that she's pregnant when the situation doesn't change. She is apprehensive because of the warnings of the doctor, who told them earlier to avoid pregnancy. Dr. Coleman carries out a test on her, and it is discovered that Isabel is pregnant. He asks that the delivery will be risky this time. Isabel tells Lucas about the pregnancy and the message of the doctor. Lucas apologizes for putting her through it again and worries about the delivery day of Isabel. 3 months before the delivery date, the doctor schedules his schedule for 3 months before the delivery date. The doctor schedules Isabel for an operation on March 19th to reduce complications. Early in the morning of March 18, 1966, her amniotic fluid burst and he woke up Lucas, who called his aunt, Betty, to come over as Isabel was in labor. He then helps Isabel to the car and they leave for the hospital. At the hospital, the nurses prepare the operation room for Isabel and the doctor sets up the operation. Dr. Coleman checks the baby's pulse and says that the baby's head is coming already. He then tells Isabel that she will deliver the baby because there is no time for the operation. She tries to push her, but she is becoming weaker. The doctor tells her to stop pushing when he notices the umbilical cord around the baby's neck. The doctor encourages her to push more, and the baby comes out. Dr. Coleman discovers that Isabel is hemorrhaging and becoming weaker. Due to loss of blood, the doctor orders pints of blood to stop the hemorrhage, and it stops. He also calls for the services of Dr. Davis, a pediatrician, to attend to the baby because he is weak. Dr. Coleman goes out and tells Lucas that the baby is a boy, but weak. Likewise, Isabel. He says the next 24 hours will be critical for the baby and Isabel. On the 3rd day, Isabel and the baby are stronger. Lucas asks Isabel the name she would like to give the boy. She replies that she would like to name him Thomas Charles Clarkson, after Mr. Thomas, who has been good to her. They leave the hospital 2 weeks after to join other children. After some months, Lucas receives a call from his father that they want to visit them for an important discussion. Lucas is happy to receive them, and they are also happy to see them again. After taking their supper and everybody has gone to sleep, Lucas and his father are in the living room to discuss. His father opens up and tells Lucas that he's nearly bankrupt and his asthma is getting worse, so he wants Lucas to go back with them. Lucas tries to explain to his father that he has just 1 year to get his mechanic certificate, which will give him a brighter future. The father says he will run into debt if urgent action is not taken. There are arguments and counter-arguments between them. Lucas is at a crossroads. He finally agrees with his father, but needs to discuss it with Isabel. He also urges his father to tell his mother about it. Lucas thinks of how Isabel will take it since he is sacrificing his future to satisfy his father. After Lucas' parents leave, that same night, Isabel observes that something is agitating Lucas' mind. She then begs him to tell him. He tells Isabel that his father is in trouble and his head is failing. After much pressure, Lucas tells her that his father wants them to relocate back to the farm. Isabel sheds tears over the condition of her father-in-law and rejects the idea of going back to the farm. There are strong arguments between Lucas and Isabel on the matter. She later respects the decision of Lucas to go back to the farm. Lucas and his family are back at the farm, and John and Elizabeth receive them warmly. Lucas helps his father on the farm and also engages in the logging business. Isabel goes back to the brown shoe company to work to assist in the house. Mr. Bashwas, Isabel's father, died on a cold winter night in 1969. The children and their mother were with him when he died. He asked for forgiveness from Isabel, and she forgives him before he died. Remember what Isabel told Lucas the other time, that her father used to abuse her whenever he was drunk. So the man now begs for forgiveness from Isabel before he died. Isabel is being haunted by her childhood experiences. She is more because of her emotional state, as she gains weight. Lucas is now in full control of the farm at age 30. He advises his father to sell off all the livestock since there is not much profit on them. He now engages in hauling logs to Dumpster in Cornwall. Steve comes home to see his parents and uses the opportunity to see Lucas. Remember Steve, that is Lucas' childhood friend. Lucas responds that it's great. Steve comes home to see his parents and uses the opportunity to see Lucas. He asks him how he's enjoying the marital life. Lucas responds that it's great and says Isabel is a wonderful wife and has 5 children already. He introduces Steve to his children. The two friends discuss at length, and Steve reminds him not to forget his life ambition of becoming a certified mechanic. He tells Lucas about an aircraft he just bought. Steve later leaves, and they see him off to the side door. Lucas tells him to bring his aircraft when next is coming. 3 months after Steve left home, Lucas received the news of his death with shock. He is to be in charge of the funeral as indicated in Steve's file. When Lucas breaks the news of the death of Steve, Isabel and Elizabeth break into tears. All of Lucas' children are now in school except Thomas. Isabel is still disturbed by her childhood experiences. Lucas still shows his love for Isabel despite the change in her physique. John still lives on an oxygen tank. At the approach of summer, Richard's class is traveling for an end-of-school year trip to Canada. Isabel sends a note to the teacher that Richard should not swim if it is cold. That is, if there is cold, Richard should not be allowed to swim. The teacher doesn't read the note because he is carried away. Isabel is annoyed and entertains fear when she hears that Richard swam, that is, after the program, after the trip. A few days later, Richard is diagnosed as having a virus. The condition worsens on the second day, and they rush him to the general hospital. At the hospital, Richard is diagnosed as having meningitis and has a 50-50 chance of survival. 1 week later, there was an improvement in Richard's head. He afterward regains his head gradually and is eventually discharged. Lucas goes to buy something in the town one day. He meets a friend, Ron, who informs him that a cable company is hiring in the area. Lucas has an interest in the job, and he says he will feed Ron back after discussing it with his wife. After the supper, Lucas tells Isabel about his discussion with Ron. After much discourse on it, Isabel agrees with him, and he meets Ron on Monday. The two friends are interviewed on the same day and employed. They are even on the same crew and the same hours. Lucas informs his family members, and they are all happy. He takes them to Mama Jean's diner to celebrate it. Lucas is now a supervisor after a year in the cable company. Things are going well until Isabel receives a call from Fran's husband, Jean, that France has developed type 2 diabetes caused by obesity. France is already in the hospital, and Isabel promises to visit her on the second day. Isabel tries hard on France, and she is able to lose some weight. Her health improves, and Isabel goes back to her work. 6 months later, France gained more weight than before. Jean takes her to the hospital, where she is given a close watch on the hospital. She couldn't survive it and died eventually. Isabel gained more weight 2 years after France's death. The fear of ending up like her sister makes her opt for a program that helps her shed weight. She compensated for him. That is, she's compensated for this, that is, for losing weight. Lucas is given a higher position 3 months later at his place of work, but he will not be home until the weekend. He considers taking the offer since it is a higher position. In Lucas' absence at home, Isabel still thinks about her childhood memories and the death of Frank. This makes her gain weight again as she hides her pains from Lucas. Lucy discovers one day that her mother hides something under her pillow while crying. She discovers the second day that it's Frank's picture she was hiding. That is her sister's picture, her dead sister's picture. As Lucy tries to tell Elizabeth, Isabel calls for help that she's weak. Elizabeth calls the ambulance and she's rushed to the hospital. John takes Elizabeth to the hospital and she calls Lucas, but there's no response. At the hospital, Elizabeth is given information about Isabel. The doctor says she will likely sleep all night because of the sleeping drugs given to her. Elizabeth and John go back home, but Elizabeth tells the nurses to call her if there is any emergency. Elizabeth calls Lucas again to tell him what happened. He says he's going to the hospital immediately from Kempfield and that he wants to see Isabel when she wakes up. Lucas is now in the hospital. Lucas is now in the hospital and the doctor introduces himself to him as Dr. Mackenzie. He tells Lucas that Isabel is very ill as a result of a deep depression. He says Isabel will be transported to the ward of patients with clinical depression. He asks that Dr. Jones will diagnose the right treatment for her. Lucas watches how Isabel is transported to the general hospital. He goes to the hospital and a nurse directs him to room 323 where Isabel is, but needs to fill out some forms first. The doctor later tells Lucas that Isabel is in a state of clinical depression, but diagnosed with psychotic depression. He advises Lucas to go and rest at home for the task ahead. The doctor further explains the difference between clinical and psychotic depression to Lucas. That is, he's trying to explain the differences between clinical and psychotic depression to Lucas. He gives some pamphlets on depression to Lucas. Nurse Sequin then takes Lucas to Isabel's room. He kisses her on the cheek and sits beside her bed. He declares his love for her again and goes home. Lucas tries to compose himself at home because of the children. He tells them that their mom is seriously ill. He says she's diagnosed with clinical depression, but the actual diagnosis will be psychotic depression. Lucas meets Dr. Jones and the nurse in Isabel's room. He is devastated when Isabel identifies him as a stranger and the doctor advises him to leave the room. A nurse allays his fears of the illness that Dr. Jones is an experienced doctor in the area. The doctor later tells Lucas that Isabel has been diagnosed with psychotic depression. He advises him to be strong, patient, and follow his guidance. Lucas now spends more time in the hospital than at home as he works closely with the doctor. He has sacrificed his job for Isabel. At this stage, Dr. Jones is discouraged because Isabel is not responding to treatment. She can't remember anything about her past and believes she gave birth to a set of twins. He now allows Lucas to see her, but can't remember any relationship with him. Lucas decides to give up on Isabel, even when the doctor is giving up. He tells the doctor one day that he has an idea that can salvage the situation. Lucas doesn't want to give up on Isabel, though the doctor is giving up on her because of the love he has for the lady. Lucas says he wants to take Isabel out to the society. The doctor says it may lead to violence because she will be frightened. He tells the doctor frankly that he doesn't want his wife sent to an institution. He says he will take full responsibility for anything that happens. The doctor then tells him to sign a release form. He tells him to sign a release form and update him on the development. Lucas appreciates the doctor and goes to Isabel's room. As the month of December draws nearer, Lucas tries his best to make sure that Isabel is better. She still can't remember anything about her past. He continues taking her out to the places they have visited before and narrates their past love life to her. The doctor observes changes in her behavior and appreciates Lucas' efforts. Lucas plans to take Isabel out to buy Christmas gifts for the children on the first day of December. When he gets to the hospital, Lucas gives the picture cue that has the pictures of the children and the two of them to her. He tells her that she will buy gifts for the children. Lucas tells her that he will be by her side to offer any assistance during the shopping. Isabel picks the gifts for each of the children, and Lucas is happy seeing her participating in wrapping the gifts. Lucas leaves for home while Isabel continues wrapping the gifts in the hospital. At a moment, the memory of her with Lucas flashes in her brain, and then that of her wedding. A nurse comes in and Isabel tells her about her memory coming back. The nurse advises her to discuss it with the doctor. Lucas met the doctor and he comes out of the elevator. Lucas met the doctor as he comes out of the elevator and tells him about the Christmas shopping with Isabel. The two of them head to Isabel's room and meet her sleeping. Lucas takes her gently to wake her up. She apologizes for sleeping off and tells them about the flashbacks. She says she's really Lucas' wife. The doctor says it's a good development and that she will recover gradually. Lucas is happy with the development and appreciates Dr. Jones. Isabel also thanks the doctor before leaving her room. Lucas hears the voices of Lucy's children in the hospital hall. He thereby appeals to her to open her eyes for their sake. Remember, Lucas is sitting by Lucy in the hospital, narrating the story. Now hears the voices of her children. He feels slight pains in his chest and continues the story when he is relieved. Lucas takes Isabel home for the first time since her illness, as she can remember her children now. Dr. Jones has earlier disproved the idea that it will be too intense for her. When they get home, Isabel expresses her willingness to see the family. Lucas opens the door and the children rush to embrace her. Isabel is unable to control her emotions because her heartbeat increases. Lucas takes Isabel out immediately and takes her to the car. She asks Lucas what just happened. Her memory is lost. She's agitated when the children runs to embrace her. Lucas settles her back in her hospital room and tells her that he will be back in the morning. She, however, promises Lucas that she will do it again, that is, she would like to go home again. Lucas tells the children at home that their mom will soon join them and that it's a matter of time. A few weeks later, Isabel tells Lucas that she wants to go and settle with her children at home before Christmas. Lucas is happy to hear this and he kisses her. Lucas doesn't inform the family members that Isabel is coming. They just enter the house and the children run to embrace her. Everybody is happy that Isabel is back with them. She asks to stay overnight and Lucas calls the hospital for approval and it is approved. The children are awakened by the aroma of pancakes from Isabel and Elizabeth and coffee from Lucas. gather in the kitchen, and Lucas informs them that Isabel is going to sign her release papers and come back. After breakfast, they leave for the hospital where she signs her release form and Lucas packs her belongings. They go out one day to buy Christmas gifts for Isabel. Lucas buys her a new bedroom set she likes. Isabel hosts a Christmas Eve party a day before Christmas. The children are happy that Isabel is with them for Christmas. They gather in the living room where they give them their gifts. At the age of 39, Lucas chooses to stay with his family. Hence, he goes back to the logging business. Isabel is also back at the shoe company. Her health improves, though she's still taking medication, and the children don't stress her much. The children are very active, having an interest in one thing or another, and their parents love them for that. Lucy has become a beautiful woman and loves sports and books. A few years later, Richard and Johnny's attention shifts to cars and girls. Lucy is also dating Justin, a friend of Richard. That is, Lucy is dating Justin, one of the friends of Richard, her brother. She got pregnant for Justin at the age of 16. Isabel doesn't like the development and can't tell Lucas. She eventually tells him when they go for a summer camp at Lochgarry Park. They resolve to be there for the couple to live a meaningful life. Lucy and Justin join them later at the park to see Lucas. Lucas asks Justin about his plans for Lucy. The latter replied that he plans to marry, care, and give her a home. Isabel also responds to her father's question that she wants to marry Justin because she wants her child to have two parents. Lucas is happy and he promises to come to their aid when need be. The family is aware of Lucy's pregnancy some weeks later and they show their affection for her. Chelsea is also 6 months pregnant for Richard, and Isabel and Lucas are surprised by the unfolding events in their lives. Chelsea gave birth to a baby girl on November 12, 1979, and she's named P. Lucas and Isabel are now grandparents and are happy seeing the baby in their midst. Everybody enjoys the Christmas period with all the family members coming together. Richard received a phone call from Chelsea in the middle of the night that Richard was not feeling fine. He can't breathe very well. Lucas and Isabel arrive at Richard's apartment and is taken to the hospital immediately. Dr. Franklin observed Richard and he tells Lucas that the result of the test will be out the second day. Then he can say specifically what is wrong with Richard. Okay, there's a mix up there. It's Lucas. That's Lucas that received phone call from Chelsea in the middle of the night that Richard was not well. Sorry about that. So that is Lucas. So Lucas received a phone call from Chelsea in the middle of the night that Richard was not feeling fine. He can't breathe very well. Lucas and Isabel arrive at Richard's apartment and is taken to the hospital immediately. Dr. Franklin observed Richard and he tells Lucas that the result of the test will be out the second day. It's then he can say specifically what is wrong with Richard. On the second day, the doctor refers Richard to Ottawa for further tests. The doctor at Ottawa says there is a possibility of a tumor in Richard's throat. He is placed on oxygen because his breathing is not normal. The result of the new test indicates that Richard had a cancerous tumor. It indicates that Richard had a cancerous tumor. According to Dr. Reid, if they remove the tumor, there is a 50% chance of surviving and be cancer-free. That means it's risky. The doctor calls Lucas to inform him of the development and that he will undergo surgery by 6 a.m. Lucas and others are happy that the operation is successful in the end. As Lucas is recovering, John's health worsens. That is Lucas' father's health. Elizabeth takes him to the hospital but can't survive. He dies. John's funeral takes place on a cold snowy day. A eulogy in respect of John is prepared by his children. Lucy is due to deliver the following month and a room is prepared for her in the house. She gave birth to a baby boy on the 10th of February. Things are going well until Richard falls sick again. He has cancer on his lymph nodes and the doctor says he has a year to live. On the day of Lucy and Justin's wedding, Lucas drives Lucy to the church in a white Cadillac and everybody is happy. It's Christmas time again. Isabel wants to be the best because of Richard, who is celebrating his last Christmas. Remember what the doctor said about him, that he has a year to live. Richard's health deteriorates early in spring and is admitted to the hospital. On the 14th of May 1981, he breathed his last, that is, he died. His death is a painful moment for the family. Lucy composes a eulogy in his respect, and Lucas is proud of the presentation. The death of Richard prompts Lucas to determine that he will give whatever it takes to make sure that Lucy comes back to life. That is Lucas, while sitting by Lucy's bed in the hospital. He hears the voices of Lucy's children in the hall coming to see her. He feels pain in his chest again, but holds onto Lucy's hand as he squeezes his hand. He continues the story. After those incidents, Lucas tries to put himself together. Isabel takes care of Paige when Chelsea goes to work. Chelsea later finds a new boyfriend who is not responsible. He has no work but drives Chelsea's car around. He was rude to Lucas and he cooked up a story against him to Chelsea. The latter then packs out and sells the house. That is Chelsea. She packs out of the house and sold the house. This has effect on Isabel again as she goes into depression. She now eats a lot to ease her pain, hence she gains more weight. Lucas takes her to Florida on a trip to comfort her. But when they return, the depression sets in again. Elizabeth's health is also deteriorating. That is Lucas' mother. Lucas now spends more time in the hospital. Elizabeth is later admitted to her nursing home. She died 2 years later, on August 17, 1990. Elizabeth is given a befitting funeral by her children. Isabel then determines to take care of her health henceforth. She watches her diet and is now doing well. A surprise birthday party is organized for Isabel by her children. She appreciates her children and everybody at the party. Isabel is now fit and Lucas takes her to Canada and other places. She later develops severe chest pain and Lucas rushes her to the hospital. The doctor and nurses attended to her but couldn't survive it. She died on the 10th of June 1993. Lucy squeezes his hand again, that is Lucas' hand. Lucy squeezes his hand again and the eyes blink as if about to open. At that moment, Mark and Lucy's children enter the room. Lucas gives Mark a seat beside Lucy because he knows Lucy will squeeze his hand. As expected, Lucy squeezes Mark's hand and he tells the children about it. They believe their mother is communicating by squeezing their hands. Lucas feels pains in his chest again, but pretends that all is well. The children later hear Lucy moan and raise her head. The children tell her that they are all with her. Lucy asks Mark what happened and where her father is. Mark responds that she had an accident and her father is with her. She opens her eyes faintly and says that she had a dream about her father narrating his life history. Lucas is happy that Lucy has come around. Remember, Lucas is narrating his life history to Lucy in the hospital. Lucas tells her that he's going to call her brothers and that she has come around. That she's going to tell the brothers that Lucy has come around. By this time, the chest pain is so intense that it affects his breath. Lucy tells him not to be long. Lucas feels another pain when it comes towards the phone, but manages to make the call. He feels the pain again when he hangs the phone. Lucas couldn't make it to Lucy's room as another pain in his chest took his breath away. The nurses and the doctor who ran to him couldn't save his life. He died of a heart attack. Lucy couldn't believe her ears as she was shocked. Mark and the children tried to comfort her. Lucy recovers very fast the following week, and this surprises everybody. She's determined to be at her father's funeral, and she's able to present a eulogy she wrote by herself. So this is the plot summary of part of Lucas. So we're also going to do the chapter by chapter analysis. So let's be on the lookout. And also, chapter 1 is going to pop up after this video. So let's be on the lookout. We're also going to discuss the character analysis, the themes, narrative techniques, and others. So that's it. So if you are new on this platform, try and click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you'll be part of this class. And if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask your question. Or if you have any comments, all your questions and comments are going to be responded to. You are free to share this video on any social media platform and also invite your friends to join us. You teachers in the house, I want to implore you that you can introduce this platform to your students so that they can also learn from here. So, thank you and God bless. Let's meet in chapter 1.